Rape, unlawful sexual intercourse, or any other sexual penetration of the vagina, anus, or mouth of another person with or without force by a sex organ, other body part, or foreign object without the consent of the victim. Every 98 seconds, an American is sexually assaulted. Every 11 minutes, a victim is a child. That leads to about 63,000 cases a year. 1 out of 6 women in their lifetime report rape or attempted rape. 3% of American men in their lifetime report rape or attempted rape. 8 out of 10 of the perpetrators are known to the victims. But only 5 out of every 1,000 perpetrators will end up in prison. Because only about 230 out of 1,000 sexual assaults are reported. So approximately 3 out of 4 are not reported. So today in this audio, guys, as you can see, I want to talk about rape. It's a very sensitive topic and, it's been in the forefront of our news as of, the last several years with the Me Too movement and No Means No, for instance. Okay. Before I go any further, the statistics that I just gave have been made available from the Department of Justice and the Department of Defense. I utilized rain.org and some articles that I found, like in the New York Times, for instance. Okay. So this channel is primarily dedicated to survivors of narcissistic abuse. And, I find it very important to talk about this because in the New York Times, there was an article that I will leave below this video that actually made a very, very strong connection between narcissists and sexual predators. Okay. And the article was saying that male narcissists were 2 times more likely to commit sexual crimes. Okay. And what is it? It's the entitlement and the lack of empathy that is at the root of that, or the aspects of their narcissism that is leading them to feel okay with committing these crimes. And, I've made videos talking about the different types of narcissists. And, as we go up the spectrum, is particularly to the psychopaths, and we see how people like Jeffrey Dahmer, that I talked about in that audio, was a serial rapist and murderer. Okay. And, of course, he was a narcissist. So, I didn't want to just make this video to throw out a bunch of statistics, but I do want to paint a picture that, this is a very relevant topic. And I'm quite sure of my survivors listening to this channel understand how real it is, as many of you have probably experienced sexual abuse by the narcissist in your life. Okay. Now, I have further statistics here that I want to share before I continue on with the audio. And this goes to my female survivors and even the male. but 1 in 20 rapes result in a pregnancy. Okay, so that's a roughly 4% of women who have been raped end up getting pregnant as a result. Okay, and then this creates a whole nother set of, or it makes a very layered situation that was already had enough elements to it. Now there's a lot more going on and to consider and the consequences, but I do want to debunk a lie that was in the media by a governor several years ago who said that, females have like mechanisms inside of us that can prevent rape from being successful. Now, while there are species that have this capability, and scientists know that chickens and spiders are able to eject, sperm out of their reproductive tracts, human females are not able to do this. So I want to debunk that because a lot of people don't realize that, yes, a woman can still get pregnant when she is raped. Okay. And furthermore, as I read through that article and the studies that they had conducted, they were saying that it's quite possible that something called a rape-induced ovulation occurred. And they also say that it's possible that the rapist had something called viral sperm, which is, more potent, more hostile sperm. And that the rapist may have been more physiologically attracted to women that are ovulating. And these are things that the scientists are pointing out because, although we're thinking on our flesh as far as, we see someone, we're attracted to them, there's a lot of physiological things that are going on between men and women that we may not be conscious and aware of, particularly during the times of the month when a woman is ovulating, and even down to a scent that you may not be aware that predator is smelling, that is drawing him or her near. And I'll say him or her because men obviously get raped as well. As I said, 3% of American men. And I do realize that people do listen to my channel from all over the world. And, I kept it simple with my statistics. So this does not include the whole world, but I did have access to a lot of information here in America. As we're doing somewhat of keeping track of these things. All right. But, overall, I really wanted to make this video to give support to my survivors out there because, I know about this violation. This video isn't about me, but I do know about this type of violation. And that is a great word for it, violated, because I'm quite sure that is how you felt when this happened. And it can be a very confusing thing. It can be something that obviously that you'll never forget, no matter how far you go in the healing process, and then it gets even more layered. Like I said, when other things happen, like, there's a child produced and now you're deciding, if you want to keep that child, if you want to go through with the pregnancy. And then if you do, what's going to happen with the child? What are you going to tell the child? How are you going to feel about that? And dealing with your emotions with that as well. And perhaps triggers on an anniversary date of the rape, or, triggers around the child's birthday, perhaps. as you are reminded of the conception. You know, and you'll remember these things. You're going to remember these things, and feeling cheated somewhere in there, perhaps. You know, and for men that may have been raped, and your rapist was a woman and she conceived, and now, you know, not forcing you into fatherhood. Maybe she wants nothing to even do with you, and maybe you press charges. Who knows the situation? But now a child was born and created out of your lack of consent. Out of your lack of consent. You know, it's a process, guys. It certainly is a process. And what makes it rough with narcissistic abuse is usually, you know, along with that, you have all of these other things, mountains of things that the narcissist has done. Because chances are, you know, you may, after you look back in hindsight, or you're sitting down and you're thinking about this, like, whoa, this person has abused me in every way possible. Like, they just went down the whole checklist, didn't they? You know, you may find that you were not only sexually abused, that you were verbally abused, you were emotionally abused, obviously, and psychologically abused, physically abused, financially abused. It all is all intermingled here. It's all intermingled. And then, of course, in true fashion, they'll then leave you to pick up all the pieces. To pick up all of the pieces. And you're just trying to pick up the pieces of yourself first and foremost. But you have all of these other things to begin to heal from, basically. You know, and it's a process. You may go through phases where you don't want to be sexual. You may be turned off by it. You may feel jaded by it because of the experience, and you withdraw from it for a time. Or it could have an opposite effect on you where you become overly sexualized because now, you know, subconsciously, this is what we've learned, scientists have learned, you know, we lose that value for our body because someone else treated it like it was nothing. Because someone else dominated over it like it was just a toy. Something to use and abuse and throw away, you know. And then we subconsciously, it hits our self-esteem at times. You know, that could happen as well. Either way, it hits your self-esteem. Either way, it can and typically will hit your self-esteem, and it's something that you have to work on. It is definitely something that you will have to work on. I want to point out in this video that, you know, it's their sickness. It is their sickness. You know, a lot of times when we go through these traumas, because that's what rape is, a trauma, we often, you know, we internalize things like what was wrong with me, or, you know, because we're feeling victimized, we're feeling isolated, like, wait, this person chose me. A lot of times they've done it to other people. I'm just going to say that too. A lot of times they've done it to other people. So usually you're not the first. And even if you are the first, it's still their sickness. It's still their crime. So, you know, I wanted to touch on this because I know that this is real, because I made a video about narcissists and sex, and every time I do, people are constantly under the threads, you know, telling me how the narcissist raped them. And I want you to know that you're not alone. You're not alone. And I know it doesn't take away your pain, but a lot of times we do suffer in our pain and we feel like no one else understands. No one else, you know, get it. No one else has been through this. You're not alone. You're not the only one. It's a whole community of people who have gone through this. Even to the ones of you out there who procreated or, who ended up pregnant and kept a child and moved on with your life. You're not the only one either. Take a comfort in knowing that with healing, you can have more happy days than sad days. Your triggers can be minimized down and or eliminated. You can love that child or those kids. You can separate their identities, their heart and spirit from the perpetrators. You can feel blessed to have them and feel the warmth of their love. You can. You can see their beauty. You can see where you can make lemonade out of lemons in that type of situation and love that baby. I'm not on any level forcing anyone to keep a child. That's not what I'm doing. Just saying for those that chose to continue on and that felt right for them. It's not my decision and it's not my place to dictate. But I just wanted to make this video to address this rape on different levels. Because it happens. It happens and people want to sweep it under the rug, but it happens. And I know the devastation. I know the consequences. Some of you got raped and found out that you even contracted an STD on top of being raped from your rapist. I understand. I understand. It's a horrible thing to experience. A horrible thing to experience. But, I just want to make this video again to just try to provide some comfort, to a very, very touchy, very, very uncomfortable topic. And somehow in our society, even with all of the leaps and bounds that we're making and, getting more justice in these type of situations, there is still a lot of victim shaming. And because of that, I have to make videos like this. And this is why only not even 300 out of the 1,000 sexual assaults are reported. This crime is the least likely out of all crimes for a person to end up actually being convicted and serve time. It's the least likely out of all crimes. And I know that survivors have their reasons at times for not going through with the case or for going through with a case. And I want to actually just, at this point say, I don't say one way or the other. That is a very personal, individual choice for each survivor to decide for themselves. I'm not going to say you better report it, that you have to. And I'm certainly not going to talk you out of doing what you feel like you should do. Like I said, it's an individual choice. But where's the statistics that I had for the people that did come forward? Because that number wasn't very high. Yeah, I guess, the 5 out of the 1,000. But I had, let me see here. Yeah, so many, and that deters people. When you see a statistic like that, only 5 out of the 1,000, even end up in jail. So, I understand the frustration, and there are many survivors, that the legal system has let them down. The legal system has let them down. And I've read countless of situations, and the perpetrator is back out. And in those situations, you did your best. You did your best, and don't hold your head down for that either. The society that we live in and who this world ultimately belongs to. All right. So, it's a rough situation. It really is. And my heart sincerely goes out to anyone that has been raped, and those who have been pregnant or conceived out of the rape. The study said that actually women who are raped are twice as likely to get pregnant than those of consensual sex. Twice as likely. So, there's a lot of organizations and help out there for survivors. I will leave some, below this video. But it happens. It happens, and it can happen by, and on a realm of narcissists, these covert narcs that act all high and mighty in society, around their family and friends, and behind, lo and behold, behind closed doors. There's the monster when the mask drops. And I've heard of all types of situations, and it may have been the narcissist raped your children. Like, I've heard of that even. Like, it just, all types of horrible situations. Just put into yourself, get the proper therapy and support that you need to help you get through this. And be gentle with yourself and take the time that you need. Take the time that you need. But this type of violation, you never forget about it. And even if you had a situation where you froze during your attack, meaning, humans, just like other mammals, are set up to fight, to flight, or to freeze. Okay, and this is all controlled in our brain. Our brain decides which one it's going to do, and that's what you end up doing. And when you freeze, your memory is affected in that moment. And so is your ability to, be mobile, to move, basically. And this is when you're just stiff, almost like a corpse, while you're being assaulted. And you might not even remember, what happened. You just know. Because, there's parts of, this is all very neurological, if you will. And if you study further about the human brain, and you'll find out the correlations between trauma and the brain. Okay? I just want to say that as well. Yes, sometimes some things are so traumatizing to you that you literally forget what happened during that block of time. It's like you blacked out, your mind blacked out, and you were a zombie for that time. It happens. And I want to give you that security right now for those of you who may be feeling like you're crazy. You know what somebody did, and you may not be able to remember all of the little details. Okay, and yes, sometimes there's a date rape drug used, and alcohol is being used, and other substances to drug and sedate. Yes, these things happen. But I want to free you in a certain sense, because other people from the outside looking in who've never experienced this, they have their thoughts and ideas on how something should be. Why didn't you run away? Why didn't you kick them? Why didn't you fight them or her? Why didn't you crack them upside the head with that? You froze. You froze. Your brain chose to freeze you, and it thought it was protecting you in doing so. Maybe you did fight. Maybe you fought before you froze. Could have changed from one to the other. Maybe you were able to flight it, but you still shook up from the situation of the attempt of sexual assault. All types of things have happened to people, and I understand this. But I just really wanted to make this video. It's been heavy on my heart lately to, just spend some time to address rape. Because we all know that narcissists are entitled, and they want what they want when they want. And honestly, this can be even after consensual sex. You may have had consensual sex with someone, in a romantic relationship, because 8 out of 10 of the perpetrators are known. So it could even be your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your aunt, your uncle, brother, cousins, best friends, co-workers, boss. The list goes on. The list goes on. But for those of you who are dating someone, in a romantic relationship with someone, it doesn't matter how many times you had consensual sex with them. You can say no. It is still your body. You can say no. And if they still force the issue and try to force themselves on you, that is rape. Yes, it is. It is still rape, because that confuses people as well. Well, we had consensual sex in the past. That time wasn't consensual. I clearly made it clear to them no, and they still forced themselves on me. That is rape. And that confuses survivors sometimes, because they may have had a relationship, or maybe that the relationship is over and they let that person go and they came back and raped them. Okay. All types of scenarios. But I want to make a video like this to just touch on like some little hiccups that happens, so that hopefully it could provide someone with comfort and a little closure. And maybe closure is not the right word, because do you ever really get complete closure from these type of situations? Yes, you can get healing, but we never forget about it. And you can be triggered even 30 years later, 40, 50 years later. Feels like, that part of you that just mourns over what happened. And it can get smaller. And like I said, it doesn't have to dominate your day to day as we heal. Large gaps of times can go by without it being serious on your mind after you've done much of the work in the healing process. But yet and still, yes, you can have a teary-eyed moment 20 years later, because it's never going to be okay. And it was always and will always remain a violation. You were violated, and it was a trauma. So don't let anyone tell you you don't have a right to feel some kind of way about it 50 years later, or a year later, a month, a day later. That's none of their business. Like I said, you just get the support that you need so that you don't have sexual dysfunctions. You don't have unhealthy relationships with sex moving forward. You aren't able to have healthy intimacy moving forward because you haven't healed. because that's what happened with your perpetrator. Chances are someone probably did it to them, and then they became the perpetrator. Still doesn't make it right. Definitely doesn't make it right. Okay, guys. So, I just wanted to have this talk, and I did write a book called Silent Tears. All right. And it is written from the standpoint of a survivor. And that book is found on my website, LakiaCrawford.com. It's also on Amazon.com, BarnesandNobles.com, CreateSpace.com. And, this isn't just this clinical code book that you would find in a hospital or a doctor's office with a whole bunch of statistics. Is, like I said, is written from a survivor to another survivor to help with the emotional, more than anything, with the emotional aspects of healing from sexual assault. Okay, so, if you want to privately do some therapeutic healing for yourself, you can definitely feel free to check out my book. Okay. It is available in ebook format, and it's available in hard copy format. There are exercises in there as well to therapeutically help you on the psychological and emotional aspects. Because the last thing that most survivors want immediately after or during the healing process is someone just only throwing a bunch of statistics. There's a very humanistic side to this that needs to be dealt with first and foremost, and more than anything else, so that human being can find adequate healing. All right. So I hope that this talk has, helped somebody in some kind of way. That's what I really want from this audio. Okay. My email address is below, CoachLakia@gmail.com, and I do offer coaching. If you would like to have that with me to help you through this healing process as well. And I offer coaching for all other types of things, but just, sticking to the topic of this audio. I offer voice calls, FaceTime, Skypes, texting, and email coaching as well. Okay. You can check that out at LakiaCrawford.com, or just hit me up in social media or email. Speaking of which, on social media, on Facebook, I do have a support group for survivors of narcissistic abuse. If you are interested in joining the family over there, just inbox me and let me know that you are a survivor. Okay. And with that being said, your life is not over. Your life is not over. It wasn't cool. It was horrible, devastating, a betrayal. But your life is not over. Your life is not over no matter what. Even if you are pregnant, your life is not over. Okay? Your life is not over. I really want you to know that part. And you are not tainted. You are not damaged goods. You can recover. You can move on. You can be happy again. All right, guys. So, again, please be gentle with yourself and continue to take care of yourself and your self-wellness. Okay? And feel free to reach out to Coach Lakia. Give me some time after I upload this video. I will put additional resources underneath. And suicide, your life has meaning no matter what. And none of it is in vain. None of it is in vain. None of it. So don't you think you need to cut your life short because somebody else is sick. Because somebody else couldn't be with you in a healthy manner, or anybody else. That is a reflection of them, not you. It is a reflection of them and not you. All right, guys, please keep your safety first and don't live your life in fear. Until next time, please take care.